The Intercontinental Championship has personally always been one of my favorite titles in the WWE. I'm not exactly sure why, but something about that belt has always had a certain awe about it that the US title just never gave me. Maybe it's like a WWE versus WCW thing, but nevertheless, the IC title is still one of the most universally respected belts in the world of professional wrestling, probably due to its very, very, very long list of current and future Hall of Famers that have worn the thing. People I'm talking about such as Christian, Chyna, Daniel Bryan, Diesel, Eddie Guerrero, Kane, Kurt Angle, Owen Hart, Rey Mysterio, Ric Flair, Ravishing Rick Rude, Rowdy Roddy Piper, Seth Rollins, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Game, Triple H, and of course you couldn't forget the legend himself, Zack freaking Ryder. But obviously, majority of those names are pretty iconic, but yet none of those names that I just said are going to make this list that we're going through. Pat Patterson debuted the Worldwide Wrestling Federation's Intercontinental belt back in September of 1979, and to celebrate 40 years of its existence, we're going to go over the 25 individuals that have racked up the most days with the belt by combining the total days from all of their reigns put together. I've done a video just like this before, and many people got confused. So to try and prevent as much confusion as possible, let me try to explain how these rankings work. For example, Randy Orton won the IC title only one time and held it for an impressive 210 days for that one reign, while Edge has won the belt on 5 separate occasions. Therefore he is a 5-time champion, and when you add all those 5 reigns together, it comes out to 161 total days with the belt around his waist. So in this case, Randy Orton would rank much higher than Edge on this list because Randy Orton's 210 days with the belt is longer than Edge's 161 days. And now that we got that out of the way, it's time for an Intercontinental Fun Fact. In 2004, at the pay-per-view Vengeance, Edge started his 5th reign as the Intercontinental Champion by defeating the man himself on a monster 210-day reign, Randy Orton. And that was it. That was the fun fact. And finally, the top 25 WWE superstars with the longest combined reigns as the Intercontinental Champion. Starting the list off at number 25, we've got the whole effing show, Rob Van Dam. RVD is a six-time Intercontinental Champion, which is tied for the 3rd most of all time, by the way, but he has a total of 211 days with the belt around his waist. RVD has actually got Randall Keith Orton beat by only 1 day to sneak onto this list at number 25, respectfully of course. RVD's longest run with the IC title came from his 2nd reign after he defeated Eddie Guerrero, God rest his soul, on an episode of Monday Night Raw in a ladder match on May 27, 2002. RVD held the title on this run for 63 days after dropping it to Thou Who Shall Not Be Named, Chris Benoit, on another episode of Raw on July 22, 2002. Number 24, you may have heard of him, or like myself, maybe not, but nonetheless he is a Pan American Games gold medalist, Ken Patera. Ken has won the belt just one time, yet still held it for 231 days. Ken became the 2nd ever IC champion after he defeated the longtime champ Pat Patterson at a house show in New York City on April 21st, 1980. He would then go on to lose the belt to Pedro Morales at another house show in NYC on December 8th, 1980. Coming in at number 23, we've got the 1st ever Intercontinental Champion, Pat Patterson. Pat Patterson's only title run began on September 1st, 1979 after winning a tournament that never actually happened, look it up, but never mind that, as he held the belt for an impressive 233 days until he dropped the title to number 24 on this list, Ken Patera, on April 21st, 1980. Number 22, surprisingly enough, it's the 3-time IC champion, the Lunatic Fringe, Dean Ambrose, or Jon Moxley if you will. Ambrose has managed to rack up a total of 245 days with the belt in his relatively short-lived tenure with the WWE. Dean's longest reign came from his second title reign after he defeated The Miz on a January 3rd, 2017 episode of SmackDown. After 152 days with the belt, Dean dropped it back to The Miz at Extreme Rules on June 4th, 2017. My apologies. And at number 21, we've got the Executive Vice President of AEW himself, Cody Rhodes, or Stardust if you're a rebel like me. Cody is a two-time IC champion, totaling out to 257 total days. But his longest reign came after he defeated the living legend Ezekiel Jackson on the August 9th, 2011 episode of SmackDown. He dropped the title to The Big Show of all people at WrestleMania 28 after holding the belt for 236 straight days. And here's a fun fact. Actually, no, it's Intercontinental fun fact. Since that lengthy reign by Cody Rhodes, nobody has yet had a longer reign with the belt since then. Matter of fact, nobody's had more than a 236-day run with the belt since Shelton Benjamin in his reign around the 2004-2005 time. That's a tough scene. Coming in at number 20, we've got the current WWE Champion of SmackDown. As I'm recording this in May of 2019, boom, 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 Kofi Kingston. Come on. Kofi is a four-time IC champ with a total of 266 days with the belt. Kofi's longest reign came at the hands of Dolph Ziggler on a January 4th, 2011 taping of SmackDown. Kofi's reign would last only 77 days until he lost that to Wade Barrett on a March 22nd, 2011 taping of SmackDown. Number 19, the sixth man in title history to hold this belt, one-time IC champion, Greg the Hammer Valentine. Greg's only title run with the belt came after he defeated Tito Santana on an episode of Maple Leaf Wrestling on September 24th, 1984. After keeping the belt warm for 285 days, Tito Santana won back the IC title from Greg in a Baltimore house show on July 6, 1985. Number 18. The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Bret the Hitman Hart. Bret Hart is a two-time champion. In those two reigns, he totaled 290 days. His first reign lasted 144 days, but his longer reign was the second time around where he defeated Rowdy Roddy Piper, God rest his soul, at WrestleMania 8. He held on to the title for 146 days until he dropped it to the British Bulldog, God rest his soul, at SummerSlam on August 29, 1992. Number 17, currently a backstage producer for the WWE, Jeff Jarrett. Jarrett has an impressive 6-time IC champion reigns, racking up to a total of 298 days. Jarrett's longest run with the belt came from his first reign, actually, after he defeated Razor Ramon at the Royal Rumble on January 22, 1995. The reign lasted 94 days until the belt had to be vacated after a match with Bob Holly on an episode of Action Zone, not Joan, which was taped on April 26, 1995. Number 16, for being a 9-time Intercontinental Champion, which is the title record, it's shocking that current AEW wrestler Chris Jericho is here on the all-time list. The 9-time champ has a total of 318 days with the belt. His first reign started in 1999, while his 9th started in 2009. However, Jericho's longest reign came from his 8th time capturing the gold, where he defeated Jeff Hardy on a March 10th, 2008 episode of Raw. He held on to the belts for about 111 days until he put over Kofi Kingston at Night of Champions on June 29th, 2008. Number 15, the charismatic enigma, or as I like to call him, one crazy Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy is a 4-time IC champion, combining a total of 330 days. Jeff's longest reign came from his final run as a champion, occurring on September 1st, 2007 after defeating Umaga, God rest his soul, on a pre-taped episode of Raw. Jeff held the title for 191 days until he dropped it to Chris Jericho, as I previously said. Number 14, well-known Hollywood actor and producer, the People's Champion, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The Rock is only a 2-time IC champ, but in those couple reigns he's got 339 total days with the belt. Originally winning the title under the ring name Rocky Maivia, his longer run with the belt was in his second reign when he was known as The Rock. Winning back the belt 8 months after he dropped it, The Rock defeated Steve Austin on December 8, 1997 episode of Raw. He held the belt for 265 days until he lost it to Triple H at SummerSlam on August 30th, 1998 in a ladder match. Number 13, the gold standard, Shelton Benjamin. 3-time Intercontinental Champion, Benjamin, or Benjamin as I used to call him as a child, has a total of 354 days with the belt around his waist. Without a doubt, his longest run comes from his first reign as champion when he won it off of Chris Jericho after being voted into a match on Taboo Tuesday on October 19, 2004. He held the belt for 244 days, which is the longest reign of the 21st century. Benjamin lost the belt to Carlito, of all people, on the June 20th, 2005 episode of Raw. Number 12. Hi, I'm Dolph Ziggler. Y'all remember that gimmick? Dolph Ziggler is a 6-time IC champion, totaling out to 372 days as the champ, which is the second most days for any superstar on the active WWE roster. Ziggler's longest reign comes from the first time he was crowned champion on the July 28, 2010 taped episode of SmackDown after defeating Kofi Kingston. Ziggler held the belt for 160 days until Kofi won the title back from him on a taped episode of SmackDown recorded on January 4th, 2011. Wade, King, or Bad News Barrett, whichever you prefer, he's number 11. Barrett is a 5-time champion totaling out to 397 days. Wade Barrett's longest reign came from his second time holding the belt after he defeated Kofi Kingston on an episode of Raw that was taped on December 29, 2012. After 99 days, The Miz ended Barrett's reign at WrestleMania 29, even though Wade Barrett would win back the belt the following night on Raw. And God rest this man's soul, Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig comes in at number 10, being a 2-time IC champion, totaling out to an impressive 406 days. His longest reign came from his second after he defeated Kerry Von Erich, God rest his soul, or better known as the Texas Tornado, on a November 19, 1990 episode of Superstars of Wrestling. Mr. Perfect held the belt for 280 days, the longest reign of and since the 90s, before dropping it to Bret the Hitman Hart at SummerSlam on August 26, 1991. Number 9, the showstopper, Mr. WrestleMania, the Heartbreak Kid himself, Shawn Michaels. HBK actually has the same amount of total days as Mr. Perfect at 406, but I'm giving the edge here to Michaels because Shawn is a 3-time champion as to Curt Hennig's 2-time. HBK's longest reign is from his first time capturing the title off of the British Bulldog on Saturday night's main event that was taped on October 27, 1992. HBK held on to the belt for 202 days before his ex-tag team partner Marty Jannetty defeated him for the title on a May 17, 1993 episode of Raw. Number 8. Oh yeah. That was pretty cringy, but God rest his soul, the Macho Man, Randy Savage's only title run came at the hands of Tito Santana on February 8, 1986. And that was a house show in Boston. The Macho Man had a 414-day run, which is the 3rd longest in IC title history, till he dropped it to Ricky the Dragon Steamboat at WrestleMania 3. Number 7. May this man rest in peace, the Ultimate Warrior. A 2-time champion totaling 432 days, both the Warrior's reigns are exactly 216 days long. And to make things even weirder, he started both of his reigns with the IC belt at consecutive SummerSlams, the first after ending Honky Tonk Man's reign at the 1988 SummerSlam, but Warrior would then go on to lose that belt at WrestleMania 5 to ravishing Rick Rude, God rest his soul, just to win the belt back from him at the 1989 SummerSlam. Warrior's belt would then be vacated after winning the WWF World title from Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6. Coming in at number 6, the bad guy, Razor Ramon is a 4-time Intercontinental Champion, totaling out to 437 days with the belt around his waist. Razor's longest run with the title came from his first, coming to 198 days once he defeated Rick Martel for the vacated IC Championship on an episode of Raw taped on September 27, 1993. He would go on to drop the belt to Diesel on an April 13, 1994 episode of WWF Superstars. Getting into the top 5, at number 5, Tito Santana is a 2-time IC champ with 443 total days as the champion. His longest run was on his first reign that began at a house show in Boston after defeating longtime champ Don Muraco, sorry if I butchered that name, on February 11, 1984. Santana would lose the title to Greg the Hammer Valentine after 226 days on a taped episode of Maple Leaf Wrestling that was recorded on September 24, 1984. At number 4, we got a man that may have only won the title once, but man did he hang on to that thing. The Honky Tonk Man has the Intercontinental Championship record of having one reign consisting of 454 straight days. A record that will never be broken in the WWE. Sure, you could say most of his title defenses ended in disqualification or countout, but we don't need to talk about that right now. To start the title run, the Honky Tonk Man defeated Ricky the Dragon Steamboat on a taped episode of Superstars of Wrestling that was recorded on June 2nd, 1987. After 454 days, the Honky Tonk Man would drop the IC title to the Ultimate Warrior at SummerSlam on August 29, 1988. Number 3. Don Muraco is a 2-time IC champion, holding the belt a combined 541 total days during his runs as the champion. His longest run was during a second, which came when he defeated long-term champion Pedro Morales during a house show in New York City on January 22, 1983. Muraco held on to the belt for 385 days until he would lose it to Tito Santana at a house show in Boston on February 11, 1984. Coming in at number 2. He is an 8-time Intercontinental Champion, totaling 597 days. The Awesome One, The Miz. Miz's 5th reign as champ was his longest after beating Zack the night after WrestleMania 32 on the April 4th, 2016 edition of Monday Night Raw. He would hold on to the belt for 188 straight days before losing it to Dolph Ziggler at No Mercy on October 9th, 2016. And this is actually pretty crazy, but The Miz is the only guy in the top 10 that has won this belt in the 21st century. Not only that, but one more reign would tie for the most reigns as IC champ, and not just that, but if The Miz holds the title for just at least 3 more weeks, he'd be number 1 on this list. It's only a matter of time for that, considering in AEW, Chris Jericho is currently holding the record for most reigns as the champion. And what we've all been waiting for. This man is a decorated wrestler for the WWF as well as the WWF. This man is also in the top 5 of the WWE Championship version of this video. May God rest this man's soul, the current, longest, total reigning Intercontinental Champion of the world when you combine both of his reigns, Pedro Morales. 2 reigns equal out to 619 total days for Pedro, with the longest reign coming from his second after defeating Don Muraco at the New York City house show on November 23, 1981. This run lasted a long 425 days before he dropped it back to Don Muraco on a January 22, 1983 edition of the NYC house show. Ladies and gentlemen, we got through it, the 25 WWE superstars that have the most total days with the Intercontinental Championship. If you made it through this video to this point, I'm sure you enjoyed it as I enjoyed the time it took to put all this together. I've learned a lot about this championship as I was making this, just as I hope y'all did as well. Be sure to let me know what you think of the rankings, or just say something you liked about the video in the comments or whatever. I see every comment and enjoy replying to feedback. This has been Shady Boydie. Take care.